Good morning, everyone. Hope you can understand me well. Hope you can see me well. Hope you can read and see the PowerPoint slides. Before we're gonna start, I would like to use the functionalities built in our Teams webinar. Um, and I would start by launching a poll. So you should see right now at the moment that you get a poll on your screen asking you what you would store in the Singularity Data Lake. So if you wouldn't mind, please fill it in and let's see what you would do or which logs you would send to the data lake if you were using it. If you're not using it, yeah, well, you can just imagine something. Because today we're going to talk, of course, about the Singularity Data Lake. Um, a little bit about myself while you are filling in the poll. I'm Jits Smeyers. I'm a pre-sales consultant at Exclusive Networks. So that means that I'm responsible for demos, proof of concepts, etc. Besides this, I'm also doing very often some professional services like installations, configurations of devices, and I do this for two vendors, SentinelOne and Fortinet. Um, so, enough about myself. Today is all about what we're gonna do, and that's the Singularity Data Lake. We're gonna talk about logs. So, let's first have a look at your logs that you would send to the data lake. So I can see that, yeah, you would send like web requests, firewall logs, etc. So that's very good, and that's actually what we are using this data lake for. So a little bit of housekeeping. We're using Teams. So that means you will also have a Q&A button. So if you have questions in the meantime, don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat. I will try to monitor them as often as possible, but I can't promise anything. And with that being said, let's hop on to the bread and butter of today, Singularity, the data lake, the platform, etc. I guess you all know the platform and the XDR story of SentinelOne. So it's all based on Singularity. Singularity, you can see it as the engine running behind everything in the SentinelOne cloud. So as you can see, for example, we have the platform over here. We can ingest data, and SentinelOne started at the beginning by only ingesting data from the endpoint, but now you will see that they also do this for things like identity, cloud, but also exposure management, and they put their own threat services on it as well. This is all stitched together by the Singularity engine, which is now also supercharged by PurpleAI. We'll talk about PurpleAI in a few minutes. And underneath this, you can already see some highlights of what we are going to focus on today, and that's Singularity AI-SIEM, because Singularity AI-SIEM is actually a kind of SIEM, SOAR, hyperautomation, XDR solution built on the data lake. So all the data from the endpoint, identity, cloud, etc. is being ingested, is put in the data lake, and then we can work on it. And as you can see, we can not only ingest data natively from within the SentinelOne cloud, but we can also do this from third-party applications. More on that later on. Often when we talk about cybersecurity nowadays, we focus on NIS as well. The NIS2 legislation is coming into place. And also over there is a part where, for example, they highlight the importance of logging. So if you are required to acquire to the essential services, for example, then you will see that you need to have logging. You need to keep your logs at least half a year. And you are obliged to also do some kind of correlation and analysis on it. So we need some engines, we need some tools to do this, to facilitate this, and let this be the perfect bridge to the Singularity Data Lake. So the Singularity Data Lake is actually a big storage engine where we send all our data to. This data can come from our endpoints, which can be our SentinelOne endpoints where we install the agent on. It can come from the identity part of SentinelOne. It can come from generic syslog, etc. And based on this, we can then review this data, all these log messages, and actually do something with it, analyze it, let SentinelOne alert on it, etc. A bit of history about Singularity Data Lake, often shortened as SDL. So at the beginning, SentinelOne had a data lake as well. When they first did only the endpoint part, the endpoint protection part, they also had some place to store all the EDR data, because as you know, within the EDR story, it's pretty important to keep data, to be able to stitch it together, and to be able to do forensics analysis, etc. So that was also what this data lake was used for, but SentinelOne saw that it was not that performant. They needed high availability, they needed more reliability. It must have had to become faster because it took very long to run queries, etc. And then SentinelOne acquired a company called Scalar. So Scalar is a company which only purpose was to store data and efficiently query it. So that was what they did. They fully integrated Scalar in their own solution and actually replaced their original backend with the Scalar engine, etc. And so now you will see that, yeah, they ingest more than 8 petabytes of data every day. They have very high performance. You will see that once you start working with Singularity Data Lake, you start querying the logs, etc. It is quite fast to get all this data, especially because it's not all the same data that you often query, but still you get results pretty fast. And it offers for some automation, things like PurpleAI, so all kinds of enhancements that you can and we probably will have to use in the future because data is only becoming more and more. So we need something reliable and efficient to work with this data in order to do what we are supposed to do, and that's to catch the bad guys, of course, and to do some analytics on what is happening in our environments, in our networks, etc. So Singularity Data Lake is already available for all customers. And it works, first of all, with ingesting data. So you will see that data can be ingested from the Singularity endpoint. So that's the normal SentinelOne agent. And these can be just the EDR logs, like, hey, there was an IP connection. Hey, a process started. It made a file change, a file modification, etc. But now you also have the option to enable in your policy of the agent the collection of Windows event logs. And then these will also be sent to the Singularity Data Lake. The Singularity Data Lake can also work with collectors. These collectors are available to ingest whatever data that you have. As long as it's in the OCSF format, you can ingest it via syslog, via normal logging files, etc. We also have APIs available, or you can ingest them by using the marketplace. More on that later on. All the data comes in the data lake, the big cloud, as you can see it over here. The engine processes it, parses it, and makes it available to query and store it. So the data lake's main purpose is actually to ingest all the data that seems relevant to you, um, to query, to search, and look in, to do forensic analysis, and to basically monitor your complete environment. And you will see that later on in the story, especially with the AI-SIEM part. You can start doing some alerting and automation on it, um, which is basically replacing other solutions and basically enhancing the capabilities that SentinelOne already had with its XDR capabilities from the marketplace. For example, to quarantine an endpoint, to disable an account, etc. Well, it is SentinelOne's vision to also do this in the future, with all the data available in your data lake. Now, the data ingestion, like I said, could come from the agents, could come from syslog, generic syslog collectors from the API, but also from the marketplace. So in the marketplace, you will be able to search for certain integrations. You can filter on log ingestion, like you see on this demo here. And then you see which integrations are out of the box available from the SentinelOne marketplace. So actually what this is going to do is it's going to add parsers for the logs that are coming from these sources, like for example, from Google, Microsoft Defender, etc. You can send the logs towards the data lake. By installing one of these collectors, SentinelOne adds the right parsers for it, and it will be able to ingest it in the data lake and show it in a structured way in your log view, which will then allow you to query for the events. The event querying for example, non-EDR logs will look something like this. And can you spot the difference? It's in the circle. The difference is that you can, or we can now since a few years, also enable the event search, which was first only available for EDR data, now for XDR, like you can see over here. So this was the original view with the EDR data, and then you could only see the events and the data coming from the agents within SentinelOne, which was already available, which is still available free of charge if it is included in your license. And now you can also enable the XDR view. And by enabling the XDR view, you will basically also enable all the other logs that you send to the data lake. So for example, over here, I am sending FortiGate traffic logs to my Singularity Data Lake, and I will be able to view it. I will be able to query it, check how many connections there were from a specific IP address towards a specific IP address. Do I see suspicious traffic, etc. You can decide which data and collectors you want to see by filtering on the products field, as you can see over here. So these are actually all um, the integrations currently supported by PurpleAI as well. So you can integrate a lot more products like we've seen in the marketplace and also third-party solutions. But the ones that you see over here can also be integrated or can be queried by PurpleAI. PurpleAI is SentinelOne's large language model, kind of ChatGPT, in order to query events, because as you can see, it is using a specific query language. Sometimes it can be hard to learn. Once you know the syntax and you know how to search for the fields, because there is auto-completion, it kind is straightforward or pretty straightforward. But If it becomes more difficult to write queries, for example, then you can always rely on things like PurpleAI, etc. And these are the events which you can already query with PurpleAI. Of course, the main goal of SentinelOne is to let PurpleAI query any event that you send to the data lake. Now, what do you need for this? Is it already available? Well, yes, it is. And therefore, I've added this slide, which compares the licensing between core, control, and complete. So core, control, complete, these are the main available SentinelOne packages to license your agents that you have deployed in your network. And within these licenses, you can already use the Singularity Data Lake. The use of the Singularity Data Lake starts already from the core and the control licensing. But the thing is, you cannot query it. So, yeah, the data is available, but you won't be able to see it. So actually, you need the complete license in order to work with all this data. Now, the nice feature with the complete license is that you can also get 10 gigabytes of log ingestion per day on top of the logs that have been ingested by the agents. So as you can see over here, the native data ingestion, which is the ingestion coming from the SentinelOne agents, is always all included in your license, whether you are ingesting 10 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, a terabyte a day, it doesn't matter. It's included in your license. But with the complete license, you will also be able to ingest 10 gigabytes per day extra. And you can basically scale these up if you need to. So this means data coming from third-party applications, vendors, like, for example, a FortiGate, Palo Alto Networks, Firewall, Zscaler, Okta, Cisco Duo, etc. By default, it stays in the data lake for 14 days. So as you can see, you will be able to query it via the Open XDR. So that's the tab that I showed you. It will stay in the data lake for 14 days. You can upgrade it to 3 years. For example, we've seen with the NIS2 directive, there is a requirement to keep data for at least half a year, 6 months. So you can, for example, also keep your data just in the data lake if you need to. You can also integrate with the marketplace apps like we've seen, and these marketplace apps that you see over here are not only about data ingestion, but for example, you can also take automated actions within the data lake. For example, quarantine an endpoint with Intune, disable an account in Microsoft, etc. So complete license is actually what you need to have, because then you can use the data lake, you can work with all the data, you can query it, etc. What can you do then? Well, you can use something called star custom rules. So star custom rules are actually alerting rules that you can set on the data that you ingest with SentinelOne, in order, for example, to highlight a certain detection or certain log that has been sent to your data lake. And then we are coming into the SIEM place. So we are creating rules that will be highlighted, will create an alert. And SentinelOne already has a library for this. So they have a library available with some predefined rules on all kinds of marketplace integrations. But of course, you can write your own rules as well. Now, it becomes very interesting when we also include the Windows event logs, because like I said, you can now integrate Windows event logs as well in your data lake. It's just enabling a slider in the agent policy, and then you will also be able to query on those, create your own rules. There are already some predefined rules as well in the library, because these contain a lot of valuable information on top of the EDR data that you will probably already be gathering. Things like custom dashboards are also available, so you can create your own dashboards, for example, to highlight the alerts, to highlight the logs that came in, um, top users for FortiGate, for example, top destinations, etc., just to create your own dashboards. And you can work, like I said, with PurpleAI. PurpleAI nowadays also supports like Palo Alto Zscaler, FortiGate, Microsoft 365, etc. querying. So you will see, for example, that now I'm just querying some logs with PurpleAI on my EDR data. So here you see that it's just querying all the data from my agents. It's write these queries for you, and it gives some thoughts on the data that have been displayed. But now you will also be able to do these queries, for example, on, like I did in my demo, the FortiGate logs. So then you could ask, for example, hey, show me the top logs or the top connections from my FortiGate traffic logs, for example. And then PurpleAI will also write a query, and it will also be able to visualize this data like it just did with the EDR, like you will see right now. So here it's again writing the query, and it's showing you the data as well. So it can not only do this on EDR data, but also on the ingested data, which is pretty cool. And I think the way forward, because there will be a lot more data coming in, and we need a way to work with it. We cannot just create parsers for it all, write alert rules for it manually. It's not feasible anymore. So there PurpleAI can be a massive help to create these queries for you, and in the future also create like alert rules for you in order to highlight certain events, etc. Now that we've seen this, we can start focusing on Singularity AI-SIEM, because you will probably have noticed that SentinelOne created a new product, Singularity AI-SIEM. Well, it's actually based on the data lake that we are already talking about for several minutes. So you will see, for example, that it's also based on data that is coming from the operations platform, your EDR, the identity part, the cloud part, etc., from third-party data, etc. And it will enable you to do really cool stuff with it. So it's not only XDR anymore. We cannot just ingest data from third parties and visualize it, but the goal of SentinelOne, and this is a bit of roadmap information which they made publicly, is to also do, for example, user and endpoint behavioral analytics for it. They will try to create or the SIEM with the library, with the rules, so you can create your own dashboards and do the follow-up of your environment. And last but not least, they will also start doing hyper automation. So this is actually something I'm really excited about the features that the AI SIEM is going to bring, especially the hyper automation part. So if you want, you can highlight it as well. I do have some mock-ups of what the AI SIEM can bring for you. For example, over here, they will create a new integration hub where you can integrate all kinds of vendors which are not in the marketplace yet, like you see over here. And it is the goal that PurpleAI will also be able to query those extra vendors, etc. They will also include some kind of SOAR hyperautomation solution. Actually, it is already incorporated. They did an acquisition of a company for this. These are already running in beta, and it should be able in the near future to also create playbooks and let these playbooks act based on a certain detection that has been done or has been flagged by a rule that, for example, was created by PurpleAI. So pretty cool stuff ahead, um, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, I can see that you're also pretty excited. So that's really cool. For those which are not all excited, just a brief look at what is already possible today, because I can imagine that you say, well, yeah, okay, it's cool, roadmap, but it isn't there yet. But you can already, for example, incorporate PurpleAI, the data lake, which I showed you with the marketplace, is also available. So, for example, a good use case could be, for example, the scattered spider hacking group, the APT, which has been caught in the United States a few weeks, months ago. And how they went to work, well, that's actually possible to see the complete flow within the SentinelOne platform right now, even though they are operating, for example, on the network with phishing websites, etc., because we can integrate all these logs from third parties as well. And by using this, you can actually create a storyline which goes beyond the data from your EDR endpoints and visualize everything in one platform, which is actually the goal of SentinelOne. So that's what you can see, for example, over here. In this specific case, you would be able to see certain detections coming from, for example, the workstations from the endpoints, which is native SentinelOne data. You see, hey, something is going on. You have detections and you can start working on them. PurpleAI is already available and it is integrated, so it will be able to tell you what this event is about. Is it something to worry about or not? And then you can further investigate everything. So you can look at all the other information that is coming in your data lake, which is highlighted by, for example, some star rules which you have created. Yeah, we of course still have the storyline functionality within our EDR data to review what has happened on the endpoint itself. But keep in mind, you can also do this outside of your EDR data with PurpleAI or by writing your own query, because then you can also query, for example, your Palo Alto networks, firewall logs, etc. Display them, see what has happened with this endpoint on a network level. PurpleAI will even give you a summary of the things that it queried, the detections that it found, etc. And based on that, you can already now then create the necessary actions. For example, do some mitigation actions with the agents or use the marketplace integrations and isolate an endpoint, etc. So this is what is possible today. In the future, we will have all these available. So automated workflows with playbooks, a lot more dashboards, the ingestion and the native data parsing is continuously enhanced. So I think SentinelOne has a really bright future ahead for its data lake. And with this, I would like to conclude the webinar. I'm briefly going to look at the Q&A. Normally, all the links in the slideshow should be clickable. So if you would like the slideshow, some handouts, you would like to be contacted, you can click the link over here and you can fill in your email address, and then we will send you the slideshow or we will contact you or one of the team members. So if you still have questions, put them in the chat. And otherwise, I would like to thank you for your attention, for joining. I hope you've become a bit wiser. If not, don't hesitate to contact us, fill in the form, and I wish you a pleasant day.